Hello and welcome to the Gussets and Go Days podcast. My name is Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and crafting. It's been quite some time since I podcast and someone popped me a message and just said that they missed my podcast, and I thought, let's do one, a podcast. So it's a little bit of a mess. Usually I'm a little bit more together. Sorry, jazz hands. But at the moment, just getting one up is going to be the main kind of achievement. So I'm not working at the moment. I have been furloughed. I am still employed, luckily. See how long, see if that lasts. And I'm just waiting to hear when we're going to go back to work. I've been using my time to help make scrubs. My team have been making them, but because I don't live in London and they are not sending packs of fabric and stuff out using any kind of mail service, they're sending it with their own vans. They can't drive it that far away. So I used Scrub Hub, the website, and found someone locally who's doing it. And I've been doing some cutting, which, let's be honest, that is the worst part. It really is the worst, most sucky part of sewing. But I have a massive table, which is waist height. I've got good scissors. I've got a massive workroom, and I just felt like I can just only imagine how many of the people doing the cutting were doing it on the floor and on their kitchen table, and just I was in a position to help. So did some of that. It's shockingly difficult to cut like that level of like volume. I mean, you end up with like blistered. That is not fun. That is not fun at all, but so satisfying. It's all done. I cut everything that needs to be cut, done a couple of batches, and that has kept me busy. It was really nice. That was a couple of weeks in to my time off, and I looked for some of that kind of work to do, just because I had no reason really to kind of get out of bed, to get dressed, and I thought, let's do something that's helpful and kind of treat it a little bit like a job, and kind of have that more little bit of regular time to get up and get myself sorted. Anyway, 2 minutes of a little catch up. I have been making, this is the first thing, it's not the first thing that I made, but the first thing I'm going to show you. It is the Populux cardigan by Andy Satterland. I knit it. Oh, I didn't bring the band. I'll be back. I'm back. Okay. I knit this with Camarose. It's their 4-ply. There's the details, and it's a true red. As you can see, it's got this lovely little starburst pattern. Same thing on the back of the neck. It's meant to be knit as a DK. Now, I've knit quite a few DK cardigans, and I really don't wear them very often. I find that I love the gauge of a 4-ply. It just works better for me. It's not as hot, and it's more breathable, and I find that I get that little bit more stretch to it. It's a really beautiful yarn. It's looking a bit fluffy, but it's not. It's the first time I'm wearing it. All of the fabric shops are closed, and haberdashery shops. So anywhere where I could pop in to buy buttons, forget about it. So I saw this tutorial on the pinner cardigan. So this cardigan, pinner cardigan, which I found on the How to Do Fashion website. I'll put all the details on the screen. On the website for the designer, she shows you how to make these buttons for that cardigan. And oh, this is going to just be hilarious. But there you go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I made them. They're like a woven, I mean, I don't know how I made them. I just followed the instructions. I had like a little circle of card with some notches, with 12 notches, like a clock face. And you just basically making little kind of weaving knots, and it grows and grows and grows and grows. Then you pop a button inside. Yeah, you pop a button inside and a matching button. Mind blown. You're probably all thinking, oh yeah, we already know how to do that. Well, I had some yarn and now I have buttons. 12 was foolish. But I'm trying my best to use knowledge that I've gained from other projects. So I need a lot of buttons. If you like things tight, you need a lot of buttons. Otherwise you get some gaping going on. That just makes sense. And you don't have to do the button placement of a pattern. Never knew that, literally, until this is a very recent revelation. So yeah, this is my new thing. Lots of buttons. They are more statement than I had anticipated. They are very large. There we go. I think it's a really cute cardigan, and yeah, there we go. I did it a little bit longer than usual. I find with anything that I knit that's fitted, after I've worn it a few times, it like loosens up this way and therefore jumps up that way. So as it loosens, it jumps up, and then I end up losing some length. Knitting something that's meant to be DK in a 4-ply was like a little bit more tricky than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest. Yeah, I had to mess with the gauge, and I used a 3mm needle, and that's my favourite 3mm needle, 4-ply yarn. Fingering weight really works really well. So I calculated 4 inches on my little swatch, how many I needed for my 41-inch bust. You know, a few calculations. Better to do that in the morning than the evening. Had to do that a few times to get it right. Worked it out. Now that was fine. I just picked a really big size to accommodate for the gauge. A big size for me. Like it would, if I knit it in the right gauge and the right yarn weight, it would be much too big. But because I was going smaller, that worked fine. But the row gauge, completely off. So I just winged it. I don't know what I did, I don't know how I did it, but I did it. As I was going through, I made extensive notes for myself. So whatever I did on this kind of on one side, I just made sure I did it on the other side. Any length that I did for the armhole, I mirrored it on the back. And I just kept holding it up against a cardigan that I liked. Just kept laying it out, and yeah, that worked really well. I was super happy with it. And yeah, I went with a long sleeve. It's a really simple cardigan. It's super lovely. And you could obviously leave out the details. There's meant to be something on the bottom, but no, that wasn't going to happen. And I knew that Amy from Taylor S Studio had knit this in a 4-ply, and I know that she'd left out the bottom as well. It looked really nice, so it's fine. And I didn't have a red cardigan, and red, you know, that is a basic colour. You need a red, as you need an undyed yarn, kind of like a white neutrally cardigan, you need a red one. So it worked out really well. The armhole was kind of massive. But I just chose the sleeve with the right number of stitches that I know for a 4-ply, which is what you are. So I knit the body. Actually, I knit all, like the whole thing, the button band and everything, so I could try it on. And then I picked up the right number of stitches for the beauty school top, which I've knit quite a few of those, and I managed to get the fit nicely on that. So I just kind of cast on that amount of stitches. I had tried to cast on the stitches of the size of body that I was knitting, and like the armhole was like really far down, so I had to kind of make a little judgment there. I was really proud of myself. It's really nice to be able to judge things as you're doing it. I always used to I would just knit whatever the pattern said, kind of ignore my own pattern cutting knowledge, because my knitting knowledge was nowhere near my sewing knowledge. And I make patterns, and I'd be looking at something, I'd be thinking, oh, that looks a bit narrow, or that looks a bit too wide, or you know, something. And I just think, oh, trust in the pattern. But the pattern is made for, you know, basic standard size, so it's not taking into consideration different measurements and different you know, everyone's body is so different, so just trying to rely that little tiny bit more on my own knowledge, and it worked out well this time. Doesn't always. That one is the perfect example. So this is the pinner cardigan. Put the details on the screen. I knit this in the wrong gauge, but in a 4-ply yarn. It's meant to be a 4-ply yarn, a fingering weight yarn, and I was just, you know, marginally off with the gauge, but I made the best choice of size. I like quite a loose gauge. I think a 4-ply on quite a loose gauge is quite nice. This pattern was asking for such a tight gauge, it would have been like bulletproof. And I don't need a bulletproof cardigan. I need like a nice, like easy to wear cardigan. So I knit it, gauge up to what I wanted to do. I was really happy with it, and then I blocked it. I knit the whole thing, I blocked it. It was massive. It was massive. I was furious. Not only was it big this way, it was also big this way. So I had in the back, I had this like voluminous. So I ripped out the whole thing and did it all again. The level of insanity, I was fuming. Oh my gosh. And then when I'd reknit this one, I realised that actually this pattern is made for someone quite small busted. So I've knit it twice and it's still a bit narrow in the bust. It's just ridiculous. It's literally just how did that happen? Anyway, let's put it on. It was a challenge. Sorry, there's a lot of buttons on this one. It was a challenge. I mean, it was knit in pieces, which I'm not used to anymore. Now I love a top-down construction. I love picking up in the armhole to knit the sleeves. I do not enjoy seaming. Seaming is horrible, which is strange actually, because I love to sew and I love hand sewing. So how is that possible? I hate sewing together pieces on a knitted garment. I think it's just not fun. Mattress stitch is not fun, and I'm very particular with it. So Nina's just sitting there watching me. She wants to play feather on a stick, but I don't like that game. We play later, go away. She also likes a good button, that girl. Really likes a good button. Anyway, it does fit me. This is not a disaster. What did I knit in the end? I think I knit a medium to start with and then I knit a small. Anyway. This is a very, very cute little cardigan. Very cute. It's all ribbed throughout. It's got this kind of staggered rib here. It's got the same thing in the back. The staggered kind of V thing going on. It's got moss stitch edging, which I think is really cute. Same thing on the cuffs. I really like it. It's meant to have one more button, which I made the buttonhole, but it just looks like it might explode, and we don't need exploding bust lines, so I just closed it. And well, you can kind of see something on the camera. In real life, you cannot see there was a buttonhole there. Okay. Yeah. I promise you, in real life, you can't see. So I had knitted it and then I just closed it. I love stockinette so much. I don't like rib. So this was full of trials and tribulations. I did a few areas where there was a purl, where a knit was meant to be, or a knit where a purl was meant to be, and then I had to drop down and fix it because I was watching telly. Never mind. Usually all my cardigans I would finish here somewhere. But actually, very flattering. That's meant to be there. That's not because it doesn't fit. Just in case you were wondering. Yeah, oh, it's so cute. I was thinking I have nothing to wear it with, but actually, that's a cute little look right there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The sleeves, they knit bottom up flat. Stop staring at me, girl. For every size, you cast on the same number of stitches. And I was kind of scratching my head about that because not everyone has got the same size arms. Anyway, I just kind of cast on, shh, be quiet. I just cast on some stitches and then kind of looked at it and saw if I felt it was, you know, more or less right. And this has been a successful garment. I don't know if I'm going to keep the buttons. I was so proud of these buttons. One of the main reasons I made these buttons on this, because I really wanted to give them a try, and I thought, oh, I've got the perfect vintage buttons for the green one. So I'll make the fun buttons on the one that needs 100 buttons, and the one that needs only a few, I'll just put some that I have. That was very strange thinking, but they're cute green. At no point did I put the two together, the buttons and the yarn. So I don't know if I should leave these. These are quite a bright green and this is very dark, so they do glare a squidgen. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe a little bit of glare, a little button glare is okay. Anyway, yay, I'm so happy with it. This is actually the first time I put it on. That could have gone wrong. I could have put it on and been, oh, don't like it. It's blocked. It's yeah, this yarn is really nice. I'll put all the details on the screen after because I don't have everything to hand at the moment. This is an offhand, off the cuff podcast. Look at the stitch detail on that. This is very nice. I was very pleased with this. This was a Christmas present from my dad, which I have told you before, and he didn't pick it because he does not possess the yarn purchasing capabilities. That would be fun though, to just let him try. would go wrong. And it pulled back really nicely. So all of this was knit into something, pulled back, soaked, left in the shower to drip dry. It lost like a tiny bit of dye in the water, went slightly green when I was soaking it, but not massively, just, you know, little. It didn't change the colour. And then it knit up beautifully the second time. Sometimes I find when you do that, the yarn, it's just not the same. It's just not the same the second time. But this, perfect. I think that's all for that. Oh, I'm going to show you the sewing now. I'm just going to grab a few little bits and pieces. So, the dress I'm wearing, I made. I did not use a pattern, I self-drafted it, though it's super easy to find a pattern for a sundress. It's just a little fitted bodice. It's got a bust seam and a waist seam, button down, a slight sweetheart, just, you know, a little, that would be straight there, with just a 1-inch strap, completely plain on the back, and a gathered skirt. This is my go-to pattern, and I truly think everyone should have a go-to pattern, whether it's t-shirts you like to wear, dresses, whatever that thing that's you. I really think pull it out time and time again. This is a faux button front, so it's actually stitched inside, just because I don't need the gaping. But the skirt does have a split, so it's stitched down on the top, but it's there on the bottom, which I quite like. I don't do gathering on the skirt in this front portion. I start the gathering at the darts, and it means you get a flat front, and then like the sides and the back are more full. It's much more flattering, really much more flattering. So I would recommend that. That's always fun to give it a go. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to show you, I have 3 dresses now using the exact same pattern, and no one would know that they're the same dress. So I have my lemon dress, which I made for my friend's wedding. I've shown you before, with the beautiful embellishment. This one's gathered all the way around, just not on the placket. Exactly the same bodice, except it's straight. It's straight across on the neckline. That one, super fun and fresh, really easy to wear, really nice. Exactly the same pattern. I used an embroidery on glaze in a white. And this one I did, you can see the neckline, I just scooped out tiny bit. Same strap, same exact bodice. Same skirt on this one, gathered all the way to the placket. That's the only part that's not gathered. Again, this is fake. It's stitched down so that there'll be no gaping. But again, this one is open, and I whacked a ruffle on the bottom, and truly looks totally different. Totally different dress with a ruffle and a tiny modification on here. And I took advantage with the embroidery on glaze having a scallop. Didn't have to hem it. Lots of fabrics that have these, fantastic. Whack a ruffle on, and I think the ruffle, it wasn't quite double the width of what that bottom edge was, so I just measured the bottom, whatever that was, I roughly doubled. You know, like doubled by eye, not by measurement. And this one, I saw is so cute, and I wore this one to go to a lavender field with my friend with a little straw hat, and that was so nice. And they did lavender afternoon tea. It was in a lavender farm just outside of London, and as we got off the bus, it was so just deliciously smelling. We knew we were in the right place as soon as we got off the bus. So these 3, exactly the same, tiny amendments, and truly very different dresses. Very different. They are different dresses. No one would know. If I ever I'm unsure what to make with something, which does happen. Sometimes I see a fabric and I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it. This pattern. And you can make a little summer dress with cotton, with linen, you know, lots of different fabrics, but cotton, my favourite, because it's so easy to sew with. It doesn't move, it doesn't shift when you're cutting it, it sews really easily, goes through the machine, presses nicely. When in doubt, I think advice for a beginner, if you like a summer dress, cotton summer dress, every time, every single time. That would be my advice. Not that anyone is asking my advice, but truly. And, you know, as a knitter, you definitely need a summer dress to go with your cute cardigans. I'm just going to put that back on because it's actually quite cloudy today and a little bit nippy. The fabric from this I bought from, I'll put it on the screen. It was I follow them on Instagram. Is it New Craft House? They stock only like what do you call it? Dead stock fabric. So it's a second-hand fabric. It's not been used before. It's usually from designers or brands that have leftovers in their roll. And so you get really good quality fabrics, a little bit on the pricey side, but I think it's guilt-free. It's, you know, I don't need to, it would have gone to landfill, so that always feels really great. Plus the quality's fantastic. And yeah, it's an independently owned little business, which I love to support. And this was a really cute fabric. This is it's a lawn, cotton lawn, black base, and these were a vintage button that I'd had gifted, which I've been waiting to use, both of these buttons, for ages, and I was just savouring them for the right project, and I just pulled them out for this and they were perfect. Yeah, oh, I do have another dress that I have made, which I embroidered the neckline of, but I'm going to have to just tease you with that and show you next time, because I want to wear it. It doesn't look good on the mannequin. I need to wear it so I can show you in person the beautiful embroidered neckline. Yay. Okay, back on the knitting. I really, at the beginning of our kind of lockdown situation, I really couldn't concentrate on a project. There was definitely no sewing at first. I didn't have any projects on the go which were simple. I mean, that was really complicated, and I had a crochet pattern, which I'm just so slow with crochet, so I needed a simple pattern. So I did these socks. They're so simple. I cast on 60 stitches instead of 64 because my gauge is looser than it used to be. So my option was to either go down from 2.25 to a 2mm needle. Didn't have those, I'm not going to order them. So cast down a few less stitches, 1 by 1 rib, knit plain for some time. When I was bored, I did a slip stitch heel, which I quite like, quite nice. Plain foot and then a wedge toe. Super easy, and this really reignited my need for crafting. So I did these, and then I managed these two simultaneously in the next kind of 3 weeks. This yarn is by Les Family Yarn, and it's lovely. It's so lovely. And I think is it Bedlam Furnace? But not the minis, that's just the main, which I got when I went to a retreat there at Les Family Yarn HQ. And this mini came with the Iron Bridge colourway, which I knit a pair of socks for my Uncle Peter for Christmas because he wanted them, and he loved them, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. He loved his socks and they fit nicely, but their puppy also likes the socks, so he has to hide them, I believe. So I nabbed that. He didn't have a contrast heel toe or cuff because I wanted it, and I put it on my sock. It goes beautifully. if I do say so myself. So that was love. That got me kind of reinvigorated into crafting. And then I had some leftovers. So I had leftovers of the Iron Bridge colourway that I knit my uncle's socks in. I had leftovers of the Bedlam Furnace, and both from Les Family Yarn, as well as the mini. You can see the mini was meant to go with that colour. Also would have been gorgeous. In fact, if I see it online again, I will need one for myself. And then this one is the Snowy Owl colourway from Spinning Goddess from the Netherlands, which is not called Spinning Goddess, it's in the Netherlands language. I'll write it on the screen. So that was all leftovers, and I've managed to knit a pair of socks. Scrappy socks, and that was a lot of fun. So I've got 2 pairs. I do have 2 socks for each, but I've only got 1 pair of sock blockers. So yeah, these are ready to go in my sock drawer, and obviously a very neutral colour palette, and that's calling to me more and more. I'm really happy with them. I did exactly the same thing on both. I thought I was watching the Gentle Knitter podcast with Nicole, and she does this garter tab. So all I did was the right side row was always knit, and then the wrong side row I would slip the first stitch. The right side row is always slip 1, knit all, and then on the way back slip 1, and then I knit 3, purled the rest until the last 4 stitches, and then knit those. And so it means I've got 3 stitches visible on each side, and then 1 stitch would be kind of inside of the pickup, and that's cool. It's just the stockinette on most of it, and then this little tab detail. I've not worn it, so I don't know how it wears or if it's any good, but it was fun. It was easy to pick up the stitches. It was easy to count the rows. It was really pleasant, and I really enjoy her podcast, and I've heard her mention this heel quite a few times, and I thought, well, I'm so competent with the rest of the sock, don't need to check anything about that. I do that all just from my mind, and I thought may as well mix it up and try something new. It's always nice to, put in a new heel or a new toe or something. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I've got one last project to show you. It's not yet finished, but I thought I'd show you because it has been released. So this is the front of a cushion. So it's the Pixel Heart pillow, I believe it's called. It's missing 1 row of pink from the top and bottom, which I do have here. I just need to seam them all. It's by Molly Klein Designs, and it's such a pleasure of a project. I used all my scraps that I had knocking about, and I pulled the colours that matched my duvet, my patchwork quilt that I made a little while ago. So I thought this would go really well. What to say about it? It's pretty. It's really pretty. You can see that yourself. You knit each of the squares individually, and then I seamed them together. Someone crocheted them together. I think there's lots of different ways you can do it. Like anything, there's so many ways you can do it. I may be the slowest crocheter in the world, to be honest, which is why this has taken me so long. It's such an easy, pleasurable project, but I'm such a slow crocheter. And also, when I knit, I only move my finger, this finger. I move this finger, and then I push my stitches with that finger. So I do this, and I do this. It doesn't hurt. When I crochet, I'm all over the place, like that is not easy on your wrist, so I can't make too many at once because I'm an idiot. Anyway, I have this lovely little bag full of all loads of little scraps. just pulled out the ones I liked, and I'm working on the back at the moment. The back is one massive square, and I thought that was so much fun. Oh, sorry, that's the back. I mean, the only difference is my knotty bits. So yeah, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Really happy with my colour choices, and I just need to get it done. Just need to get it done. And then I'm not sure, I'm tempted to put a zip in the side of the cushion in order to be able to wash it. But I'm not sure. The downfall of a zip in a cushion is if you put your face on it and you catch the, you know, the zipper pull, like, that's not pleasant. That's not pleasant. You can, you know, you can catch an eye or... So I am very slightly anti-zip on a cushion. But it's so easy to clean. You just take it off, you can wash it, dry it, put it back on, rather than have to unpick it. I haven't decided. Not that a cushion needs a massive amount of cleaning. I mean, it's not like a pillow on your bed that you sleep on every night. It's more like of a decorative, and then like a little back support. It's not really, you know, I'm not rubbing, not sleeping on it, rubbing my face on it. Anyway, so last time I mentioned a giveaway. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I really love the hat pattern that I did, and I really love this little cushion. And there are so many cool designs that Molly has done. So what I thought is, I'm going to ask a little question and then put your answers down below. And I'm just going to pick like a few randomly and gift one of Molly's patterns. So if someone's picked, I will just ask them for their Ravelry username, and then also for their which of Molly's patterns they would like. And I will buy a couple and just gift them. I just think it'd be nice to support an independent, you know, one person owned business who does great stuff, and it'll give everyone the chance to have a nice little fun project. When my cat has finished using her toilet. You done yet, Nina? She loves to do this when I do the podcast. Anything she can do to make noise and be irritating, she will. So as I have really been enjoying doing vanilla socks to kind of, for any kind of anxiety and to bring back my crafting mojo, I'd love to know what you've been up to in order to kind of remain sane and happy, and kind of just what's your thing that you love doing at the moment. Or if there's a project you've been working on that you've been loving, is there a particular routine? So something positive, just put it down below and I'll pick a couple, because Molly rocks and her patterns are great, so you know, everyone should give a few people the chance to pick a little pattern. And Molly does lots of really easy you know, like little one skein projects, things that are quite quick to make, really rewarding. Yeah, so that's the idea. My thing is vanilla socks in a pretty yarn that I can pick up whenever, whatever, however I'm feeling, don't need to think about it. You know, ideally, slice of cake, a cup of tea. The sound of the tea is very important. Tea from a teacup being poured from a teapot into a teacup. It's a very beautiful noise, very soothing to go with the cake and the vanilla sock. Yeah, so that is all I have for you. I hope it wasn't too kind of all over the place. Probably was a little bit. But if I was to wait until, you know, I had my perfect pile and my notes and everything was quiet and I was in the mood, you know, the stars do not align at the moment. We've got to go with what, just go with what we've got. Yeah, so my plans for the next week, I've got a little, you know, a little bit of DIY I'd like to do. I've been taking the opportunity to do lots of cooking and pulling out recipes from cookbooks. That's been a lot of fun. Some more kind of healthy meals and cut down our meat intake. We've been trying new things like vegetarian options, which has been fun, which I've never really gone in for. I would always buy a sausage, not a vegetarian sausage, but actually Cauldron vegetarian sausage is a very good sausage, in case you're wondering. Might go for a nice walk in the next few days. I've really been trying as much as possible to stay home, which is kind of going out maybe once a week for shopping. Kind of essential shopping. I did go to Marks and Spencer's food hall one day, because I really did need, I'd run out of cake. I'm going to be honest. That was an essential. And then I rationed it so it lasted. Yeah. I did have a little disaster a while ago, and one of my favourite knits, the tongue-tied top that I made some time ago in a nice powdery pink colour, I shrank it in the wash. I was absolutely mortified. So I think my next project is going to be to reknit it in exactly the same yarn, which I have left over. And that was one of my most worn garments, so I'm really looking forward to getting that back. I did it some time ago, at least 2 months ago, and I didn't mention it. I shoved it away where I couldn't see it because it was just such an upsetting thing that happened. I can still put it on my body, but I do look like a sausage in a casing. It's also this short. And trying to get the head hole over my head, I mean, that should be a YouTube video on its own. That's just incredibly amusing. It's very tight, and it's felted. It doesn't look very nice when it's been felted. It loses its beautiful sheen of a texture, and it just looks kind of matte and sad. So yeah, that's gonna be my next project. I'm gonna try and get in next week for a podcast, because I have a little rabbit I'd like to show you, the other dress I've made, and I'd like to get back on it. So make sure to leave your comment below for the giveaway, and yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Christine, and I will see you very soon. Stay crafty and stay safe. Bye guys.